Hey everyone, and welcome. In this explainer, we're going to dive into one of the biggest leaps you can make as a developer. We're talking about moving beyond code that just works to crafting code that's elegant, tough, and ready for whatever comes next. We're talking about software architecture and the incredible tools we call design patterns. You know the feeling, right? We've all been there. A simple feature request lands on your desk, but when you crack open the code, you realize that one tiny change is going to set off a domino effect of chaos across the whole system. The code feels brittle, it feels rigid, it almost feels like it's actively fighting you. That frustration, that's a classic sign of a design problem. And that is the heart of what we're talking about today. The only real constant in our world is change. So great software architecture isn't about having a crystal ball to predict the future. It's about building systems that are so flexible and maintainable that they can handle whatever the future decides to throw at them. This right here, this is the secret sauce of design patterns. These aren't just clever bits of code that you copy and paste. No way. They are pure, distilled wisdom. It's the collected experience of thousands of developers who have stared down the exact same problems you're facing and came up with elegant, battle-tested solutions. You're literally leveraging decades of trial and error. Okay, so here's our roadmap. We're going to start with the big why. Then we'll build up from the core principles of design. After that, we'll crack open the toolbox and check out some specific patterns. And finally, and this is crucial, we'll talk about how to know when and when not to use them. So let's start at the 30,000-foot view. Why should you really care about learning patterns? Well, because their real power isn't just about the code you write, it's about leveling up how you think and talk about software design. And this gets at two huge benefits. First, that shared vocabulary, it's a massive game changer for teams. Instead of spending 20 minutes trying to explain some complex interaction, you can just say, hey, let's use an observer here, and boom, the whole team gets it instantly. Second, you stop reinventing the wheel for problems that have already been solved 1,000 times over. You're building on proven solutions. You're standing on the shoulders of giants. All right, let's pour the foundation. Because before we can really use patterns well, we have to get the principles that they're all built on. These are really the first principles of solid object-oriented design. Now, look, this is not just some random list of rules to memorize. These are actual strategies for taming complexity and change. Ideas like encapsulate what varies and program to an interface. That's all about creating these flexible joints in your system where you can swap parts out without breaking everything. And favor composition over inheritance? That's how we build systems that are flexible, not brittle. This stuff is the DNA of code that lasts. And this just hits the nail on the head. It's one thing to know the dictionary definition of these concepts, but being a great designer, a real software architect, that's about using those concepts to apply the principles we just saw. The goal is always, always to create designs that can grow and adapt, because we know change is coming. Okay, we've got the why and the foundational principles down. Now for the fun part. Let's open up that toolbox and look at the patterns themselves. And we'll start by sorting them into three main buckets. This is a great way to think about it. You've got three families of patterns. Creational patterns are all about how objects get made, giving you a ton of flexibility in how you instantiate things. Structural patterns are all about how classes and objects get composed into bigger, more complex structures. And behavioral patterns, they're focused on how objects talk to each other and divvy up responsibility. The strategy pattern is your ticket out of if-else purgatory. When you have an object that needs to act differently in different situations, instead of a giant, messy conditional block, you pull each of those behaviors, or strategies, out into its own separate class. Then your main object can just pick the one it needs at runtime, or even swap them out on the fly. It's so clean. Oh, this is one of my favorites. It's so powerful for building decoupled systems. Think about subscribing to a YouTube channel. The channel is the subject. You and a million other people are the observers. When a new video drops, the channel doesn't need to know who you are or where you live. It just shouts, hey, new video, and all its subscribers get the update. That is beautiful, loose coupling right there. The classic analogy here is perfect. It's the remote for your home theater system. You've got a TV, an amplifier, a Blu-ray player. Turning it all on in the right sequence is a total pain. A facade gives you one simple interface, a single watch movie button that hides all that complexity. It handles all the messy details behind the scenes, so you don't have to. And here are just a few other heavy hitters you'll see everywhere. The Decorator is so cool. It lets you add new features to an object dynamically by wrapping it in layers, kind of like an onion. The factory method lets subclasses decide which exact object to create, giving you a hook for variation. And the adapter, a total lifesaver when you've got two interfaces that just don't speak the same language. Each one of these is a specialized tool for a super common problem. So having a toolbox overflowing with powerful patterns is awesome. But the real mark of an expert, the true skill of an architect, is knowing when to use a pattern and, maybe even more importantly, knowing when to leave it in the box. You can really see two different mindsets here. On one side, you've got the golden hammer approach. Someone learns about patterns, gets really excited, and suddenly starts seeing them everywhere, trying to force them in. That almost always leads to over-engineered, complicated code. But on the other side, you've got the master craftsperson. They see patterns as tools. They wait for the design to tell them what it needs, and then they pick the right tool for the job, a tool that actually simplifies things. This piece of wisdom is the absolute best guide you can have. Don't start a project by thinking, which pattern should I use? No. Start with the principles. Write the simplest, cleanest code you can that solves the problem. As the system evolves, you'll start to feel the pressure points, and the need for a specific pattern will naturally emerge. That's the moment you reach into the toolbox. Okay, let's bring it all home. What are the big takeaways? First, patterns are about reusing decades of hard-won experience. Second, always start with your design principles. Third, use that shared vocabulary to make your team faster and more effective. Fourth, chase the simplest solution that works, not the most complex one. And finally, remember, patterns are tools in your belt, not trophies on your shelf. And with that, I'll leave you with a question to take back to your own keyboard. Think about the project you're working on right now. Is there a piece of it that just feels brittle? A little too complicated? Is there a common problem you're solving from scratch? I bet there is. And I bet there's a piece of collective developer wisdom, a pattern, just waiting to help you make it better. Thanks for watching.